Hey, it's Shepton. You guys want to hear something amazing? That just sick as hell! Welcome to Desert Strike on the Sega Mega Drive, one of my absolute favorite games of all time. I really wanted to just record a playthrough and talk about it, so on with the show. Since this game's in basically everybody's top 100 Mega Drive games of all time lists, I won't spend too much time explaining it or giving it much of an intro. In case you haven't played it, it's helicopter combat flight sim with heavy strategy and resource management elements. But I don't know why I'm wasting your time and mine talking about that shit when on screen is General Killbaba lowering his enemies into a vat of acid, and then just looking at the screen with a big shit-eating grin. I always assumed he's just grinning at the camera there. Pixels are a little too small to really see it, but you can feel the grin. So apparently these cutscenes that are peppered throughout the game were inspired by Shinobi on the Mega Drive, having like that fancy intro with really big, high detail sprites. It always felt kind of movie-like to me as a kid. God, Muammar. Stop being such a bitch. Stand up for yourself, you know? You came in with a good moral high ground, and then you just let him steamroll you. It's not a good look, man. He's gonna feed you to the rats from which you came. Yes, one Special Forces chopper team. That will solve all of the problems in the Middle East. And that unnamed pilot must be very qualified indeed. Looks at camera. This game has a few different control schemes. There's with momentum, from cockpit, and from above. From above means that no matter what direction the helicopter is currently facing, if you press up, the helicopter will go up on the screen. From cockpit means that up is relative to the front of the helicopter. So if you're facing sort of southeast and you press up, you will go southeast. You'll go the direction the helicopter is facing. And then the default option, the with momentum, is basically from cockpit, but with a really neat momentum system where the helicopter sort of drifts to a stop. Like if you let go of a direction, it'll keep going for a second. It also means that you have to kind of plan your moves a little bit ahead. You have to take corners and such in a big sort of swinging arc. It's a little hard to... You can't turn on a dime with the momentum system. Personally, I prefer it that way. It feels really good. We also have a bunch of co-pilots. The co-pilot choice does make a difference, largely in your accuracy when you're shooting your weapons. Different co-pilots have different priorities as to what they're shooting at. There can be a lot of targets on screen at once, and it's really handy to have a co-pilot that's going to consistently shoot the things that you want to shoot. In these early levels, I like to use Tracker. He's the best one available right now, until later on in level 2, you rescue Jake, the MIA co-pilot, and then he's just the best all around, and you can use him for the rest of the game. Anyway, I just totally talked over fat colonel giving us the rundown of all our objectives for this mission. We're just going to get right into it. So you start every level on the frigate, way out at sea. First thing I always do, check the menu. I fucking love the menu in this game. It shows you so much information, all on one little screen. Across the top, you've got your weapons, your ammo. On the left, you've got your fuel and your health and how many people you're carrying. And then in the middle, of course, is the map, which shows you the entire level and where things are. Like, we can just go through all of the objectives one by one, and it's showing us where all of this is. And then you press B, and you get a little extra information about all of those individual objectives. Like, this is telling us about the radar, which is really useful information to have. It's letting you know that if you destroy the radar, your enemy actually has a harder time shooting you. And you might be thinking, Shepton, that sounds like a kid's game if it just tells you where everything is. No, you fucking mongoloid. Listen to me. First of all, it does not tell you where everything is. There is a lot of secret shit hidden in all of these levels. Secondly, this is just level 1. So it's easing you in, and it's showing you a lot. The later levels show you almost nothing. They only show you a handful of things. You have to discover the rest for yourself. The big part about why I love this map and the way it shows you some of this stuff is that you can spend a good minute or so just looking at this map and being like, alright, I'm going to plan my objectives. I know I have to hit these radar first, so I'm going to swing by here. By the time I'm done dealing with the radar, maybe I'll need some more fuel and ammo so I can pick them up here. And then that's on the way to my next objective, and I know that there's some enemies here, so I can go from the north to avoid those. It lets you plan, and it's really fucking cool to do that. So I personally start in this level by going to the north. And once you get a little bit far away from the frigate, your weapons are armed and you can fire and stuff, and the frigate disappears from the map. So that's what I was bringing up the pause screen for there. Anyway, so I go to the north. I know that there's a fuel can here, and it's kind of like a marker for me, and I know that if I go up here, we can find an MIA by a crashed plane, rescue him from those dicks, pick him up, and it's very important to destroy the plane. We've got to protect our F-15 technology. Won't let it fall into the enemy hands. Now, I really try to be thorough when I'm playing this game. Like, it's kind of fun to just clear as much of the map as possible. I'm going over this way, even though it's not my current objective. I know I'm going to be back here later and I need to destroy these buildings, so while I'm in the area, I'm just going to take care of it. Well, the guys are hiding in these buildings, which is why I'm firing hydras right after I destroy each building. Taking out this anti-air gun. I'll save that fuel for later. I just like to follow this road, take out a few more guys. This game is old school and has a point system, so everything you destroy is adding to your score. You see it says danger zone in the bottom left there. That's because I'm floating around near a objective that I need to do later on and not now. This game's way of kind of forcing you to at least stick to some kind of order to the missions is that it has these things called danger zones, where if you are in an area that you kind of shouldn't be just yet, the enemies are going to have a whole lot more health, and they're going to do a whole lot more damage, so it's really hard to be around there. I'm taking out as many enemy tents as I can. These ones I've noticed have a weird little bug where if you shoot the ground where they were, it still makes hit markers as if you're shooting something. I always thought as a kid maybe there's some kind of hidden secret there, so I have spent time emptying entire ammo loads into those areas and not finding anything, so I think it's just a weird little bug that you can shoot the ground and it still makes hit noises. Just picking up a random enemy soldier there. Some of these guys, when you destroy the tents, you see a little man run out in his underwear, and that's just an enemy soldier that you can capture. You can also shoot them if you want, but I think you get more points for actually capturing them instead. Anyway, taking out radar number 1. So that's part 1 of our first objective. The other one is down towards the center of the map there. My fuel's getting a little low, and I've got 4 people on board already. The max is 6. So I'm not going to go to the radar right away. I'm just going to continue clearing this area a little bit. I'm trying my best to go for a high score, or at least as good as I can get. It's by no means a perfect run. This guy's running away into a danger zone, so just grabbing him before anyone sees me. This guy is really close to the landing zone, so I've never quite understood why he needs rescuing when he could just kind of run over here, but oh well. Dropping off MIAs, or people that you've rescued, is a great way to recover health. So you noticed I'd taken a few hits. The maximum armor is 600, which I will now be back to after I've dropped off all these people. Since my fuel is low, I'm going to swing up the coast here and grab that fuel that we saw earlier. Something that's really useful in this game is if you fly over the sea, you don't lose any fuel at all. So my fuel is still 18. It's been 18 that whole time up that coast. And now I'm back at 100. And I'm going to continue flying down the coast for a little bit to get to my next objective, saving all that fuel. You can see, still 100. It's a great strategy to stay above the ocean whenever you get the chance. Anyway, at this point, I'm going to swing across here. There's another MIA guy right by the landing zone. Going to clear out more of these guys up here along the road. I can't go too far to the north because that would take me near the airfields, which are a danger zone. Yeah, sorry, you're going to hear those gun noises a lot. If that gets on your nerves, I apologize. I do actually think the sound effects in this game are great, but I can totally understand that when you're not the person playing it, it's probably going to grate on every last nerve when all you can hear is the machine gun and the hit noises over and over and over again. That said, when you're the one playing, it's incredibly satisfying. Alright, that you just saw there, I was trying to shoot that anti-aircraft gun, but my missiles kept going for the radar instead. That's just an element of how the game seems to prioritize its targets. I believe there's some kind of system in place where mission objectives take priority over enemies, and then enemies take priority over buildings, and then buildings take priority over other stuff. And I think it differs a little bit based on the co-pilot you choose as well. I haven't gone that deep into it to really figure it all out, but it can be a pain sometimes. There's one particular area in this level where there's like a cluster of fuel and ammo crates kind of sitting on a vehicle. Oh, it's right here, actually. So I try to shoot the tents, but you'll see the machine gun kind of keeps drifting off and hitting that truck, which is bad. I don't want to destroy the truck, because if I destroy the truck, I'll destroy the ammo on it. So I kind of just decide it's not worth the risk here. I'll come back later and I'll pick up this fuel and ammo, and I'll finish clearing everything out when I do that, once the ammo and fuel is out of the way, and I don't risk blowing it up and wasting it. Speaking of that sort of accuracy and target prioritization, something that the designers of this game really seemed to love to do is put enemies and high priority targets right next to resources or things that you really don't want to destroy. So it's totally possible to accidentally shoot some armor or an MIA soldier that you're trying to rescue, rather than the enemy that is right in front of you. So it's a little tricky. It's why co-pilot choice is particularly important, and also it's just important to line yourself up nicely. So that building I just destroyed, it's kind of a bit of a troll in this game. So all of those buildings there are actually civilian buildings. If I shoot and destroy the other two buildings, I would lose points for destroying a civilian building. But because I've played this game before, I know that that central one is actually okay to destroy and contains armor. That was that little toolbox that was on the ground. It's just a free health kit, basically, that'll put you back to 600 armor in a pinch. You don't really need the armor too much in this level because you've got so many people to drop off that your health is probably going to be in a good spot, usually. Later levels, though, it really throws a lot of damage at you. For the sake of this video series, my intention is to actually upload all of the footage without commentary as just like a long play, I guess. But if you're hearing me right now, you're listening to the one where I'm talking. Good for you. You know how earlier I apologized for the constant machine gun sound that you're going to be hearing? And how you probably think it's really annoying? I was just being polite. Fuck you. These sounds are incredibly good. The sound design in this game is just one of the many reasons it's so fucking excellent. That right there is the fast winch. I'm not going to pick it up right away. I have to destroy that guy first or he'll hit me while I'm picking it up. Now, every time I use my ladder or the little hook to pick up people or fuel or ammo or whatever, it'll be really, really fast. So you saw that I drifted into a danger zone here. I'm lingering really close to one of the airfield objectives, which is objective number 3. That's where that guy took more than one missile to kill. But, like I said earlier, I'm being thorough. I'm really trying to just take out everything I can. Being a little cocky with this guy, but I can stay just out of his range because I destroyed those radars earlier, so he can't lock onto me. He took a lot of damage because I'm in that danger zone area, but screw it. I figured, while in Rome, destroy an anti-aircraft gun. Alright. I'm going to swing down here a little bit to pick up that armor that I saw earlier, and you saw how fast that winch went too, now that I've got the winch upgrade. But yeah, I needed that armor because I was cocky and took a bunch of hits in that danger zone, so I was really low on health. But now I'm actually going to continue with the game. Oh, no, I'm going to get distracted by this guy and some more buildings. It's worth destroying the buildings because A, you get points for it, and B, it exposes things like this fuel, which now will show up on the map. That was not on the map before, but now that I've exposed it by destroying that building, it does show up on the map. So that's what I was talking about with how the map doesn't quite show you everything. This map in Stage 1 shows you a lot, but doesn't show everything. And in the later levels, there are times when it shows you barely anything at all. So it's always worth really exploring, destroying as much as you can, just to figure out where extra stuff is. Personally, I totally have a little notebook where I draw out the maps the manual way for this game, because I think that's fun and cool, and I can always refer to it and be like, oh yeah, there's an armor over in this corner, or hey, this building is not a civilian building, and I'm totally safe to destroy it. Alright, now I'm coming back to that little truck that we were at earlier, and I'm picking these things up, and now that it's safe, I'm going to finish destroying it. More points for me. One day I'll continue with the objectives, don't you worry. But first, more machine gun noise! This is like ASMR to me. Fuck that flag. I know there's a guy in one of these. There he is, little cocksucker. Those little guys that hide in buildings, they tend to have, you can see they've got like a little yellow rifle. I think that's supposed to be like a little bazooka or something, because they seem to fire large shots at you. And if you let them sit there, they can actually do a little bit of damage to you if you just sit there and take it. So it's always worth shooting them quick before they can hit you with too much. Anyway, don't worry. I'm almost done taking out all these optional buildings. Gonna realign for this one. I don't want to accidentally pick up that fuel and just waste it. Generally speaking, I feel like it's not a great idea to pick up fuel unless you are, like, below 20. And I'm still in the green here. I've got more than half a tank, so I'm good. Where I'm headed now is the power station, where we saw there was a rapier parked outside. This little guy's an enemy soldier that was hiding inside it. Picked him up while we were here. Get some extra points for that. That right there is a VDA. That shows up as soon as you start attacking the area. One Hellfire missile is enough to take those guys out. Just gonna take out the power station here before moving on. There's an extra armor hidden under there. I've got a load of 3. My armor's in pretty good condition, and I've still got some fuel, enough to last me a little while at least. So I'm going to swing up here, and I'll take out the one VDA that actually appears on the map. So he's taken care of, and just over here beside me, it's a bunch of enemies shooting a few MIA guys. These 3 MIA guys only show up as 1 dot on the map, so I made sure that I had at least 3 spare slots before I picked them up. Alright, my fuel's getting low, my ammo's getting low, and my load is full, so I'm just gonna go drop these guys off. Something that's always worth considering as well is that the MIAs that you've seen me pick up so far, a lot of them on this level are in dangerous areas where they're actually getting shot at. If you let them get shot, they die, and then you're missing out on a lot of points. So, always gotta move kind of quick. And of course, this era of games, the expectation was that you would play over and over again, and you would suck at first, and you would make mistakes, but then you'd gradually learn where everything is and the best way to go about doing it, and eventually you'd get much better. God, that rotor sound is so good, especially when you land to drop people off. Just kind of slows down a little bit. I really like that this game relies a lot on just ambient noises for the actual levels. It really uses music sparingly. And they know exactly when to make the most out of that classic Sega Genesis twangy electric guitar synth noise that's so unique to the system. They always put it in at critical moments, like right before a mission or just before some important objective. Really hypes you up. They knew what they were doing with that. Anyway, finally time to start taking out the airfields now that we've taken out the power station. So I'm going to loop around here, take out the anti-air guns and the rapiers. Little guy runs out of the hangar here. If you let him be, he runs into one of the planes. Same with that guy right there. Each of these two airfields has those same two guys that run out and try to get into planes. I believe if you let them get in a plane, you miss out on points. Even though, you know, these planes don't go anywhere even if they get inside them, so those guys are dead no matter what. But I believe if you let them go, you lose 500 points for an enemy soldier escaping. But I'm definitely no expert on exactly how the scoring system works. All I know is there was a time recently when I played through this level, and one of those guys never actually showed up, or maybe I just completely missed him. Like maybe he was off screen while I was doing something else or something. And at the end of the level, I had a minus 500 for letting an enemy soldier escape. And I believe it was one of them. That's the only thing I could think of, anyway. So, this time, I made sure to at least clear both of those guys up on both airfields. You saw me doing some more planning there with the map, figuring out where my next points of interest were. Over here is kind of a little secret. It's more of those civilian buildings, but again, one of them is okay to destroy, and inside is an extra life. But the other two, don't touch those. That's like clap minus 5,000 points if you do that. I completely forgot when I was recording this first level, you can actually spam the gun button to fire really fast with your machine gun. I totally forgot that in this first level and was just firing it at the slowest speed by holding the button. At least I remember in level 2, so you won't have to listen to as much droning machine gun fire when I'm destroying every single building. I'm just heading up to take out the second airfield now, which is a carbon copy of the one you already saw me destroy, so I'm going to take this opportunity to talk about something else. The team that made this game was headed up by a guy called Mike Posehn. Prior to this game, he didn't make any video games. He had no video game experience. He was primarily working in software. I think he's a pretty cool dude. He's done a bunch of interviews, and there's like gaming historian type videos out there that you can watch about the Strike series. I'm not here to really talk about that shit, but there are a couple of neat things worth mentioning about this game. Like, for instance, when they were designing the sprites for the vehicles and stuff like that, they were having a little trouble, so Mike tagged in a friend of his who was working as a dentist at the time, but happened to have some 3D modeling experience in the past. So, yeah, he had his dentist friend, create a bunch of 3D models for the sprites that they ultimately used and converted into sprites. Kind of like how Donkey Kong Country was all 3D models that got converted to sprites. Same basic idea. Oh, something I meant to mention at the very beginning of the video is that I'm actually recording this all on original hardware. Something I've talked about on the website before is that I'm huge into collecting old retro game stuff. So I've got this all hooked up in an original Sega Genesis, which I am using with HD Retrovision component cables, so the picture looks real clean. And I've got that hooked up through a RetroTink 5X, which is what I'm using to split off and record on my PC. So that's why it looks so nice. It's not emulated at all. Obviously, if it was emulated, it would look even cleaner and sharper still, but that's not the look I like. I'm going for something a little more original here. I've also talked on the website in the past about how I totally want to get a CRT for part of my collection. I genuinely think games of this era look better on CRTs. Like, a good consumer CRT set is excellent. It's what these games were designed for, so it's where I think they look best. But, that said, after finally picking up an upscaler, that RetroTink 5X that I mentioned, even after using that, I'm like, you know what? All you need is good cables, and this looks fine on a modern TV. Like, anyone that tries to give you shit on the retro gaming fucking subreddits and all that shit, where they're like, oh, you gotta be on a CRT, how dare you use a new TV. They're just being elitist pricks. Like, this shit looks fucking great with good cables. Anyway, I was getting real cocky there. My armor is only 70, so I'm like 1, maybe 2 shots away from death. So I got lucky that VDA didn't spot me and take me out. I also picked up that last little MIA. I'm also very lucky that he didn't get killed while he was, like, off-screen or whatever. So the way this game kind of works is, if it's not on screen, it's not really happening. So the moment you see, like, a little MIA getting shot, you kind of need to move quick and grab him, because if someone is shooting him, or, like, you can hear those shots happening, that's hitting him. And he's only got limited health. So it's totally possible to really get fucked over if you hear a noise and you don't quite know where it's coming from and it's just slightly off the screen. So, you know, just another one of those things where it helps to play this game a bunch and learn where everything is. And speaking as a total perfectionist / completionist when it comes to stuff like this, it would suck to let any of those MIAs get shot off screen, because at the end of the level it gives you a breakdown of your score, and it'll be like, hey, you did it. First the good news, but now the bad news. You get minus 5,000 points because you let this guy die. I can't stand that shit. I have to replay these levels over and over again until I get the great job bonus with no negative scores. Because you guys deserve to see me playing at my best. I can't possibly be human and fail. That wouldn't be right. That all being said, this is definitely not a completely flawless run. I get a good score in this level, but it's not quite my best. The best I've ever done was something like 500 points better than this, so I think maybe I missed like one enemy soldier hidden somewhere or something like that. Or maybe like a tent that I didn't shoot. I'm certainly not going for absolute perfection in this run. I would drive myself crazy if I did that. So I'm just going to play, and I'm going to play well, to the best of my ability. And we'll see what happens. Well, we're actually really close to wrapping up this level. All that I've got left now is these 2 buildings to destroy, and just taking out all the anti-aircraft guns and all these watchtowers that are guarding them. Nice whiff on that Hellfire missile, that sucks. Anyway, I'm kind of running out of things to say, because this is, you know, pretty repetitive gameplay content, and you're about to see me do the same exact thing for the next building, so... Oh, I guess this is kind of interesting. When you pick up this guy, if you press start and bring up the menu, it's like, hey, this guy's actually important, and he's telling us stuff. And now he shows you where the secret agent is up in that top left corner, which, if you remember at the beginning of the level, I swung by that area and I took out a few little buildings to save myself time later, and that'll pay off soon. Just gonna grab this armor that I left at the power station earlier on. At this point, it's really just cleaning up. It's optional to take out this second building here, because that guy that we picked up already told us the location of the secret agent. So you could just swing by the agent, pick him up, and be done with the level, but I'm a completionist, so I'm going to do everything I can to completely clear out the map. I want those points. I'm a fucking whore for points. Yeah, these watchtowers are just really a pain in the ass to try to hit. I don't know what it is about the accuracy when it comes to those, but it seems like it has no problem locking onto everything else, but you've got to be really precise with the watchtowers. A lot of wasted ammo on those. Anyway, while I'm clearing all this stuff up and flying around the map, there's a couple other things that are worth mentioning. Like, for instance, this game was obviously originally designed for the Sega Genesis or Mega Drive, but it got really popular. Like, this was a really successful game for EA. This was back when EA was not anywhere near as shitty as they are today. Back when they made actual decent games. And this is one of their games that was not a sports game. That's very unlike them. I believe at the time this was like their most successful non-sports title. And they capitalized on it. I mean, it got several sequels. It got, Jungle Strike and Urban Strike were the two direct sequels on the Sega Mega Drive. And then on the PS1, it also had some pretty popular sequels in Soviet Strike and Nuclear Strike. I never really played those. 99% of my experience as a kid was just Desert Strike and a little bit of Jungle Strike. It's only in more recent times that I properly played Jungle Strike and picked up Urban Strike as well. They're both great as well. My personal preference is Desert Strike. I think it's just the most pure out of all of them. Like, nothing is muddying the waters here. It knows exactly what it is, and it does it really well. Apparently a big inspiration, or I guess catalyst, for the design of this game was the game Choplifter, which I believe was originally on the Apple IIe. It's been ported to a bunch of other things. I have a copy of it on the Sega Master System, for instance. It's a horizontal, side-scrolling helicopter game where you sort of fly left and right, shooting down enemy planes, and picking up guys and taking them back to base and stuff like that. So you can see where the influence came from, for sure. Alright, you saw the badass cutscene that runs at about half a frame per second. Now you get to see the exact same thing happen in-game. Pretty sure the entire purpose of those little cutscenes is just to make you feel a little bit hype. Throws in the electric guitar noise again. Just gets you pumped up. Anyway, what you just saw was me dropping off my co-pilot. He runs into that bunker, picks up the secret agent, then I pick the co-pilot and the secret agent back up again. I believe it's completely possible to pick up the secret agent and abandon your co-pilot here, and just leave him and fly back to the frigate without him, which is a huge dick move. But I believe you lose out on a lot of points for doing that, obviously. And, as we've established, half a points right here. I'm not going to be abandoning my co-pilot. That would be way too dick of a move. I am going to pick up a few more ammo crates on the way, and I'm going to drop off the last of those commanders and the agent here at the beach. Again, that's totally optional. You can just fly straight back to the frigate at this point and complete the level, but I'm doing things by the book, and my OCD-like tendencies encourage me to try to finish the level with full ammo and full health and an empty load and full fuel if possible. I only really do that in level 1 because you can kind of get away with it here. It's much harder to do it in the later levels. Just going through the map here and checking every single objective has been fully wiped off the map. The only thing left was like one fuel drum. You don't get points for picking those up, so I'm not going to bother with that. And there you go. You fly close to the frigate and you automatically land on it. And then it lists off all the things you did. It gives you your password for the next level and your score. You see at the top there it says great job. That's because I did not get any negative points. If you do screw up and get some negative points, like accidentally letting a MIA die or destroying a civilian building, instead of great job it would say first the good news, and it would list all the good things, and then it says now the bad news, and shows you the things that you did wrong. But in this particular run it was pretty clean, so no negative points. My score at the end there is 873,800. The best score I've ever gotten on this level, as I was saying earlier, was 874,300. So in this run I missed out on 500 points somewhere. I don't know what that would have been. I did notice that I didn't destroy the little flag outside of that first command center. Maybe that's it. I don't know if you get points for shooting those flags, but I noticed that I didn't do that in this run, so I'll have to check that out sometime. Maybe flags are worth 500 points. Alright, well, that wraps up level 1. Thank you for spending 40 fucking minutes of your time watching my boring ass play this game that you probably don't give a shit about. Come back for more with Level 2.